Hello, everyone. Jacquie Edwards here. Thank you so much for joining me. It just absolutely started pissing it down with rain outside just now, so I'm hoping my internet lasts because I live in the middle of nowhere and internet's a bit dodgy. But anyways, welcome. Today we are going to be talking about rent-to-rent leads and how to get more of them, how to really maximize what you're doing to get your leads. Because at the end of the day, the more leads you have, the more deals you're going to have because it's basically a funnel. So you just need to get as many kind of leads and people and information and numbers coming into the top of your funnel, and then they trickle out. You work through your leads, you talk to them, you nurture them, you see how you can help them, and then down at the bottom a few little deals will trickle out. So the more leads, the more deals. So that is what we are going to be discussing today. How can we get more leads? Now, a lot of you, if you've been interested in rent to rent for a while, you will have heard some of these methodologies. One of the things I will tell you is it's one thing to learn all the methodologies, to listen to what I and everybody else has to say about how to find deals and how to get leads. The next step is you really need to take action on them. So it's one thing to say, that's great. I know that you can do that to get a lead and to get a deal. The next step is actually doing it. So anyways, let's cover what they are and we can talk about that a little bit more at the end. So first one that I want to talk about as a way of getting leads, whether you're doing HMOs or service accommodation, is talking to your local letting agents. Now, I'd suggest talking to a letting agent instead of talking to a sales agent or a normal estate agent that only does sales, because the sales agent is looking to sell that property. That's how they make their money. They get, a big percentage commission from selling that property. They're not going to be quite as interested in just renting that property out because they're not going to get as much money. The big bucks is for some is in the big bucks for them is in selling that property. So focus on letting agents to start with. Now, it can take a little bit more time to work with a letting agent because you've got to build up your credibility with them. You've got to build up that relationship with them, get to know, like, and trust them. Because until they are comfortable with you, until they know, like, and trust you, then they're not really going to be comfortable telling their clients about you, i.e. their landlords. Because if you're some dodgy person and they recommend you to the landlord goes ahead, they're going to be the ones that are getting the blame later. The landlord's going to be like, you introduced me to this dodgy person. They just stole all my money. Mr. Agent, I hate you. I'm going to slam you all over social media and nobody's ever going to work with you again. So that agent wants to make sure their customer is happy. Their client is the landlord. They want to make sure that landlord is happy and getting the best service possible. So in the beginning, they might be a little bit cold towards you. They don't know you. They don't know who you are. And their duty of care, who they have a contract with, is that property owner. So they need to make sure they're doing the best for that property owner. Now, of course, you and I know that our rent-to-rent option is generally a really great option for that landlord. And I know if you're watching me that you care about making sure that you're doing the right thing and creating win-win situations and making sure that you're taking care of the property and taking care of the tenants and therefore taking care of the landlord's interests. But the agent that you've just met doesn't know that about you. They get loads of people approaching them every single day about rent to rent. And not everybody comes across as professionally as they could. And not everybody doing rent to rent is doing it properly. You've read the news articles, the Facebook posts about those dodgy rent-to-renters and how they're causing all kinds of chaos and, everybody hates them and all of that stuff. So, they're out there. That's why, because of them, it's just going to take you a little bit longer to build up that relationship with that letting agent. But once you've built that relationship up, once you've kind of proven that you're a good person, that you're the right person, that you know what you're doing, that you understand the problems and that you can solve the problems involved in the property, then you're going to go a long way towards, being able to negotiate that deal, or not even negotiating the deal, but just getting the leads from the letting agent. Because before you can even get a deal from them, you need to be able to let them give you leads, and they need to be comfortable to, even show you around a couple of properties. One thing to think about, and one thing that a lot of people are like, oh, but what's in it for the letting agent? Why are they going to want to give me this property? The letting agent can still make their management fee. So the letting agent, again, will have a contract with that property owner. That contract will say, like, Mr. Letting Agent gets 10% of all the rents collected. The same thing can happen if you rent that property. So you rent the property, as an example, maybe it's £1,000 a month. You pay that letting agent £1,000 a month, just like a normal tenant would. Letting agent takes their 10% out, just like they would with a normal tenant, and they pass the rest on to the landlord. So the agent can still get their money. Bonus for them, they don't really have to do much because you're taking care of the property. You're dealing with all the tenant queries and taking care of all the maintenance requests and doing everything. So yeah, it makes it easier for the letting agent. They still get paid. Everybody's happy. Win, win, win all around. But it's just taking your time and building up the relationship with them. And I know it can feel like a slog. It can feel super, super uncomfortable because, letting agents get loads of requests of people coming and saying, I want to do rent to rent, or I do a corporate lets, and I want to manage this house for 5 years. And these are all the things I can do. So you need to be able to approach them and share with them how you can help. So instead of just saying, here's what I do, it's like, here's how I can help you. Here's how I can help the landlords. Here's how we can all work together. So it's really about understanding what that agent is looking for, what they kind of specialize in, how they work, and how you can help them take properties that they're struggling with or that they just don't want to manage themselves and make everybody's life easier. So again, building that relationship up, getting to know them a little bit, and yeah, just making sure that you're all on the same page. Again, takes time, but once you've put that effort in and once you've proven it works, that letting agent can basically act as your sourcing agent. So, sourcers generally are looking to charge like £2,000-3,000 a property for a property that they've sourced. With a letting agent, you're not going to have to pay those fees because, again, they're getting paid by the landlord to find tenants. So you won't have to pay them any extra fees. But once you've shown them that you know what they're doing, you know what you're doing, and they can trust you, it's just as easy for them to bring you lots and lots of properties as to go out and find 10 different tenants for 10 different properties when they can just give you all of those properties. So they can be a great sourcing agent, but what you actually have to pay to them is just the time and building up the relationship. So make sure you're considering them when you're getting started. And don't be put off if they tell you no, if they think that's ridiculous and they don't want to work with you. Take your time, build up the relationship. Don't try to jump into it too fast and push them into something that they're not ready for and that you haven't proven that you can do yet. So make sure that you've got your marketing material, that you've got a proper business, that you've got all of your insurances and your business in place and your redress scheme and your money protection, all of that stuff in place, and then get working together on them. Oh, hello, Lola. All right. Second is going direct to landlord. So while you're working on building your relationship with the agents, I recommend you're also working on getting directly to the landlord. If you're looking at the HMO strategy, the best thing I recommend and I see working every single day is getting a list of HMO licenses from the local council and sending letters to those landlords. If you're looking for what letters to send and what to say in those letters, check out this book here, this one with the yellow cover, Rent to Rent Getting Started Guide, and that will tell you more about what you need to do, what you need to say to them, and you can even get some free templates in there. So check out that book if you haven't already. So getting the list of licensed HMOs from your local council, sending them marketing letters, basically. So you're getting directly to the landlord and saying, I can help you manage your property. Here's how I can help you. Let's work together. That has been the way I got most of my properties, and it's one of the most successful ways I've seen work for most of my students. If you are not doing HMOs, or maybe your HMO list is quite short in your area, then there are other methods to do. Another one that worked really great for me, again, you'll have to test it and see in your area, is a newspaper ad. A newspaper ad, I recommend in your free weekly local classified section of your newspaper. So you know that free weekly newspaper that's in all the shops and it hangs out all week. People take it home, sit with it, on the coffee table or in the bathroom all week long, flip through it as they're doing their business. In the classified section, you want to have a little ad. I tried to use orange to make the colors pop a little bit. So when people are flipping through, my ad basically really simple. Attention landlords, we can guarantee your rent. Call me on blah, 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 blah. Here's my phone number. I got my very, very first deal using that newspaper ad in my local Oxfordshire newspaper. That was actually my best deal ever. It turned into a lease option, which also turned into that property owner being our biggest investor into our company and helping us buy a number of other properties. So it's more costly. It can be more costly. So you'll have to make sure it fits in your budget. You'll have to be able to kind of tweak and change the ad. It's going to take a little while to build up momentum. People need to see it for a little while before they're kind of jumping into trusting you. There's loads more tips in the book there on what you should have in your newspaper ad. But that has worked really well, again, in different areas. So it doesn't work in every area, but it's worth a try. First step is have a scan through your paper and see if anybody else is advertising in the local newspaper. Is there any maybe property sourcers that are looking for BMV deals? Are there any other rent-to-renters that can guarantee rent? Is there anybody else advertising in the paper? You can always give them a call and see if they're interested in working together. What do they do with their junk leads or the stuff that doesn't work for them, the strategies that don't work for them? Or maybe you could work together somehow. Otherwise, usually if somebody else is advertising, it means it's probably working. They're probably getting at least a few calls unless they've absolutely just started, just like you. So yeah, it doesn't hurt to post an ad in there. Even if you see nobody else is advertising in there, again, if you've got the budget for it, it doesn't hurt giving it a try and seeing if it works, because one good deal can make all of those months of payments worth it. But again, make sure you've got the budget for it, because this is probably one of the more expensive advertising methods. Let's see. What's another one? So that one works for HMOs or serviced accommodation. So another one, spare room. Checking out spare room. Now, most people use spare room to find tenants. I would try to be really clear on what you're doing on spare room. So again, you can look at landlords that are advertising rooms, or if you're doing service accommodation, there are landlords that advertise 1-bedroom and studio flats on spare room. So you can get in touch directly with the landlord that way and say, hey, here's how I can help, whatever. If you're doing HMOs and there's a room advertisement on there, send a gentle message to them, because they're looking for a tenant. They've probably got tenants in their other rooms. They might not be interested straight away. And make sure they don't think you're just a normal tenant coming to rent this room. So again, give them a little bit of your spiel on, here's how I can help. Here's what my business does. We take properties on long-term leases. Is this something you might be interested in now or in the future? Let's have a chat and see how we can work together. That type of thing. Same thing on Gumtree. Gumtree, Easy Roommates, all of those kind of self-advertising open rent portals. You're looking for, landlords advertising properties. Agents can also advertise on these properties, so you do need to be careful and make sure you read through everything, because you don't really want to be messaging agents on like Gumtree and stuff. It's better to just go into their office and talk to them directly. But landlords advertise on there as well. So again, you can have a nice little message that you've got ready to send. Same thing to everybody, a little bit about you, how you can help. Is this of interest? Let's meet up and have a chat for further details. Those, again, it's going to vary by area. When I started looking here in Oxford, there were pretty much nobody advertising, properties to rent on Gumtree. So I only was able to message maybe 2 or 3 people this way. But in other areas, I know lots of people use Gumtree, and it's really popular for posting properties to rent. So again, check out what's right in your area, what works in your area. Gumtree, Easy Roommate, Spare Room, Open Rent. There are loads and loads of property advertising portals where landlords can advertise directly. What else do we have? So we've gone through agents, we've gone through HMO letters, so getting the list of licensed HMOs from the council, newspaper ads, online advertising. You can do postcards in shop windows. Again, this is a little bit old-fashioned for all of you kind of youngster techie people out there. But when you walk by your local corner shop or your local market, oh, hi, Bartek. You can see that, they've always got that little notice board where people can put up little postcards and little pins of what they're looking for. You could put up one as well. Again, attention landlords, I can guarantee your rent. Just as simple as that. You might not get loads and loads of interest, but it worked for me. I got quite a few calls from that. It's cheap as well, maybe £1 a week, something like that, to put an advertisement up in there. If you can, get one close to like your local market, maybe market's on Saturday, people are wandering about, they see your advertisement, give you a call. You can do that both where you live, in the area that you're looking to do property in, wherever. So you can just, again, test it out, see what works, where and when. Let's see if I can remember one more while we're on here. I should have written them down before I got on the call, but it's been such a crazy, hectic day. Again, we're building our farm, having all kinds of fun with the sewage people that are putting the sewage and stuff in right now. It's been all kinds of excitement, and not really in the best way. Plus, it's raining out, so I spent like 2 hours standing outside in the rain this morning trying to figure out the sewage stuff and making sure we were all okay. But anyways, all right, let's give you one last way of getting your rent-to-rent leads. Let's talk about leafleting. So leafleting is a really popular strategy for lots of other property investors. So you can just kind of blanket leaflet an area looking for, BMV deals, people that are having property problems, struggling, maybe they're, in financial distress, whatever. For rent to rent, you need to really think through your leafleting campaign. It is generally more expensive. You've got to print all these leaflets, then either you or you have to pay somebody to deliver leaflets. If you've ever delivered leaflets before, oh my gosh, it's a horrible, horrible job. At least I think so. I delivered probably I try to say I delivered my first 500 myself. I'm fairly certain I gave up after 100. My hands were bruised and bleeding. I was exhausted. It was just not very fun. And then I hired somebody to do leafleting. Now, with your leafleting, because you're looking for properties that ideally are already rented out so that the owner has kind of a buy-to-let or an HMO mortgage already, that landlord might not live in the area that the property is in. So you might want your properties in a very, very specific area, but the landlord might not live in that area. So you really need to think it through on, is leafleting going to be the right strategy for you? You can always test it out, see how it works. You can make it a bit more of a bonus. So if you're leafleting to that house that you really want, the tenant lives there, maybe you've got on the reverse side of your leaflet that you offer kind of a commission or a referral fee. So if they pass this letter on to their landlord, and the landlord does a deal with you, then you'll give them, a commission or a referral fee or something like that. But with leafleting, you probably, you might, they say when you send out maybe 1,000 leaflets, you might get one phone call. So the kind of hit rate on those is really, really low. So you've got to do lots and lots and lots and lots of leafleting. But it's pretty much the same with all of your marketing. So I'd say you're really looking at maybe getting a 10% callback rate from the letters that you send out, from all of your kind of work that you're doing. You might get 10% callback. So you send out 100 letters, you might get 10 people that call you. Of those 10 people that call you, you might get one deal from that. So if you're getting a lot of no's, again, don't worry too much about that. And especially in the beginning when you're just practicing and you're just getting started, the key thing is that you're getting out there and you're doing it. So you're taking the actions. So what I want you to do is I want you to pick one of these strategies that we've just talked about today. And I want you to do that. I want you to get started this week, today, tomorrow, if you can. Just put it on your action list. I'm going to look at Gumtree today. I am going to email at least or a minimum 5 people that are advertising their properties on Gumtree and telling them how I can help them and see if they want to meet up for further information. Just setting those small actions every single day is what's really going to be able to build up your business and help you make long-term growth. Because most people want it all to happen now and they think I need to send out 5,000 letters or it's not worth it. I won't send out any. Whereas I'm saying, or you can just get the list of licensed HMOs and send out 5 letters today. You might not get any calls from those 5 letters, but at least you've sent out those 5 letters. And then you can send out 5 more tomorrow. It's just as easy as that. Talk to one letting agent today. Just pick up the phone, go on Rightmove, say, I like that property, pick up the phone and call that letting agent. So it can just be that easy. Oh, Bartek just made a very good point here in Facebook. He said, once you do your leaflets, don't change the phone number you put on that leaflets. One lady called him 3 years after their leafleting campaign. The same thing has happened to me with my letters. Some of my landlords have kept my letters and it's been like 1.5 years, 2 years later, and they've called me from those letters I've sent. So pick a phone number, make sure you keep that contact information the same so that when they're ready, they're there to give you a call. Great tip on that, Bartek. So yeah, take action, Something small will make a big difference in the long term. Little small actions every day, and you'll get there. If you want more information, check out this book. It's got loads more. Actually, both of them have loads more information on kind of your advertising and marketing campaigns. There are lots of different ways you can get more leads in. It's just about picking the ones, testing them out, trying them out, and seeing what works for you in your area and with how you like to work. So I am going to go because I've got to talk to some insurance people today. So thank you so much for joining me, and I will see you again next week. Have a wonderful day.